Good evening and welcome to Joseph Concert here on Instagram. Let's just wait to see who's logging in. Hello, anyone there? Just letting people know. All got. Hello, Samantha in the city and Judith Whitten, you're all joining. Good evening and welcome to Joseph Concert here on Instagram. We are doing it here for you tonight with me, Adam Smith. Now, usually I'd have a team kind of making it all happen, but it's just down to me, this one. So if anything goes wrong, it's all on me, okay? So, very, very soon, we're going to be talking to a legend, Linzi Hateley. She'll be with us. A lot of you have been sending in your questions. I can't wait to put them to her, which will be very, very, very soon. I need to add her to it. So this is how we do it, okay? We send that. So I've sent that now, so fingers will work. This is so new to me. Hey to Jordan, how you doing, buddy? Of course, one of the team here at Joseph, enjoying. Oh, here we go. Hi, Linzi.
Hello. I'm quite nervous.
Me too. I don't do technical stuff very well. I'm used to having a team dealing with it for me. So this is just on us now. So if it goes wrong...
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've got my daughter here who's kind of like going, no, you need to do a bit of this. But
yeah, I don't have any of that. So it's just us. How are you, my love? Are you well?
I'm all right. I nearly got blown away this afternoon. It was so windy, but I managed to survive.
Whereabouts are you based, my love?
I'm sort of out in Buckinghamshire.
So, yeah, I'm up in Yorkshire. So we got it a little bit worse than you. So I nearly did get blown over. So I can imagine today we've had to come in and redo our hair, ready for this interview.
Just a bit. But my lockdown hair, where I just keep cutting it myself these days.
Well, you look lovely, my love, and thank you for joining us tonight. I know that you are a big part of Joseph. We've had a lot of people getting in touch. You have a lot of fans. Did you know this?
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. Now, you are no stranger to the theatre, of course. Carrie, Joseph, Les Mis, Chicago, Mary Poppins, Mamma Mia. So, as you can imagine, we have had tons and tons of questions. So, we've picked the best ones out for you. So, are you ready to get straight into it and answer them?
Oh, I hope so. I hope I can answer them. Let's give it a go, see what happens.
Did you know this is the most anticipated interview this week? There's been no other interviews that anyone's talking about this week. It's just us.
Well, there you go. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
All right, my love. Let's get straight into it. So we'll start off with Martin Spencer. Thank you for your question, Martin. Have you any funny stories about what happened backstage, stuff that went wrong, but looking back now is really funny? And also, if the chance came up, would you reprise the role as narrator on the UK tour?
Oh, goodness. Oh gosh, both of those questions are quite tricky, really. Funny backstage things. To be honest with you, there were more funny things that I always sort of, from what I remember. Bearing in mind, this is like nearly 30 years ago now, so the old brain doesn't remember everything. But it was definitely the funnier things that happened on stage than off, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely
on that show. I think because, to be fair, most of the time I was on the stage, so there wasn't really a great deal that sort of happened off. But yeah, there were lots of funny, moments. One that always sort of sticks in my mind is when Philip Schofiled joined the show, and I think he'd been sort of doing the part for about 3 months, and he's a real giggler.
We can see where this is going.
The Any Dream Will Do song at the end. And, and we couldn't look at each other. We just couldn't look at each other without laughing. And this one day I said, look, let's just, this time, when I come to do the sort of little duet bit together, we'll look past each other so that it looks like we're looking at each other, but, so we won't laugh anymore. And, I walked up to him and he turned around and looked at me, and as he did so, he closed his eyes and he'd drawn eyes on his eyelids. So consequently, I just burst out laughing and, complete disaster. But in terms of doing the show again, I just can't imagine that happening. I just feel like it's such a long time ago since I did it, and it's such a young show that as much as I have such fond memories of it, I can't picture myself doing it.
Okay, well, that was Martin. He also said as well, he grew up listening to the cast recording and wished the original Joseph tour and sets would tour so new fans of Joseph can experience some of the original London Palladium magic.
Well, it was, it was a special production. There's no question. I think because it was built to stay there for a while, so it was a very, you can do things differently if you know that they're going to be in a theatre for, a decent amount of time. Touring is a different animal altogether, and having done both, you have to be able to move things quickly and on to the next venue. So, it would be difficult to tour it as it was at the Palladium, but it, obviously I'm very proud of that production, and it was, the Palladium is a very special theatre, so it did fit lovely in there.
An iconic musical in an iconic theatre, I think a lot of people tend to describe it as.
Well, I think it was a moment in time as well. I think it was just, it has a sort of, it's become iconic because I think that it was the beginning of doing musicals that involved a big star. Jason at the time was a massive star, and he brought people into the theatre that wouldn't necessarily go to the theatre before, because he obviously had a pop career. And so, there was a lot of, talk beforehand, oh, will he be able to do it? And what's it going to be like? And, and actually, he looked fantastic in the loincloth, let's face it. And it it worked brilliantly. So, it was a very, I think, a very sort of special moment in time.
Yeah, there you go, Martin. On to DDTC on Twitter now. I'd love to know what the cast's initial response was to Philip Schofield being cast. It seems so left field, but he was great in the role. And because I loved it so much, where's the sparkly bolero jacket now? That's from DDTC on Twitter.
Well, the sparkly jacket is here. I haven't got it here, like, literally. I don't wear it every night or anything. But
going out to get the milk.
But funnily enough, when we went into this crazy pandemic, like everybody else, you start going in the loft and, sorting out your photos and anything to just kill the time.
Yeah.
And I dusted off my gold jacket and tried it on, and it still fitted. And it's still here. But what was the other question? I can't remember what the other question was.
What was it like, the cast's initial response to Philip Schofield being cast?
Well, I think it was kind of like, gosh, probably, is this going to work? In the same way that he probably thought that, in fact, I know he thought that. I mean, he was terrified. It was a complete departure for him to do something like that. But actually, when you really think about it, he was so popular with children at the time, was big on the TV Saturday shows, that actually it was a brilliant bit of casting, as long as he could do it. And he just got better and better. He started, with the nerves, and then, very quickly, he's a bright man, he learns quickly, and he had a good, strong ensemble around him, and, and he did great.
Thank you very much, DDTC, for that question. Stephanie Taylor now, you played so many iconic roles, but what is the one role you would absolutely love to play, and why? They're getting it tonight, aren't they? They're asking them tonight.
I know. Oh gosh, and it sounds awful to say there isn't one that I would desperately. I'm just one of those people that I'm kind of grateful if I just get any job. And I've been, fortunate over the years to play some wonderful, wonderful characters. I thought you were going to say which was the part that I've enjoyed playing the most. But I think in terms of, there isn't necessarily, that there's lots of wonderful, sort of female roles in theatre. But, the older you get, obviously, then you sort of, I feel a little bit at a sort of crossroads in where I am in my age at the moment. And I don't feel like I've quite I haven't got quite the right look for some of those, sort of really iconic older characters. So I'm just at that sort of slightly tricky age, I think. So, I'll be happy whenever the next job comes in, whatever it is, I will love it, I'm sure.
There you go, Stephanie. Brenda Williams now, you are an amazing singer and such a beautiful voice. When can we see you on the stage again? And do you even know yet?
Don't know. I mean, I thank you. I hope that it's sooner rather than later, not just for me, but for everybody in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's, it's a tricky one. And also when you play leading parts, there's only a certain amount that you write for. And there's a lot of other wonderfully talented people that are also sitting in their kitchen like me going, when is it going to happen? So, I think we just have to hope that theatre gets back soon and that we can all start doing what we do well.
Yeah, I agree. And having, I guess, a light at the end of the tunnel now makes it more within reach than it was before.
It feels a little more optimistic now, for sure.
Yeah.
It's you do feel like things are hopefully on the turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think after all this that there's going to be more of a demand for theatre than there was before? Do you think people who took it for granted would be more, right, I once went to see a theatre show, now I want to go see more because I've missed it so much and not been able to?
I think it'll fall possibly in two camps. I think to begin with, I think there will be still people that will be nervous about being in that sort of environment because we've all become quite scared and cautious about things. But I think on the flip side, I think people are so desperate for a bit of escapism and desperate to get their lives back to the way they like it. And I certainly know from a personal point of view that, I mean, I've been doing theatre for such a long time, but actually I've got more of a hunger to do it now than I have in years. And I think it's just because I'm so sad what's happened to our industry that I'm desperate for it to come back and come back even bigger and stronger. And I think long term it will. I think it would, it would just take a bit of confidence on everybody's behalf to just go, come on, we need this.
Yeah. Chatting to the various cast of Joseph throughout the time that we've been doing these interviews and obviously doing the concert, they were all saying the same. You've already got a hunger for it to get on stage and do 6, 7, 8 shows a week, but the hunger now is more than, like you said, when they started, when they were learning and training, more so than ever, just to get on a stage and entertain. Because the recurring thing that we said is that it's in your blood, isn't it? Entertaining is there in your blood. So when you want to do it and you can't do it,
it is. Yeah, and it's the people as well. I think that that there's they're lovely people in the theatre. They really are. And I think when you're part of a show, you just have such a connection in that moment. But it does stay with you. And I think that in fact, in some ways, I miss that more than I do the performing. I just miss the people. I miss not seeing that family of mine that is different to my home family. But but it has a really, I feel very fortunate that I've met some wonderful, wonderful people.
Thank you very much, Brenda, for that one. Natalie Holiday, I've always wanted to be you when I was little. I used to come to the theatre all the time and watch you on stage and want to be you. You are my idol, and I hope to see you in a show again soon. How have you been keeping through this lockdown? Hope you're well. Sending love from Natalie. Thank you, Natalie.
Oh, very nice. I'm probably the same as everybody else is, actually. It's, it's the most bizarre time that we're living through. And I'm glad that we can sort of see, hopefully a light at the end of the tunnel. But I go up and down, so some days I feel fine. And then other days I feel, quite lost and sad and miss not seeing my parents. And, just the things that you take for granted, I miss. So, yeah, it's been a very... It makes you, appreciate what you've got. I am very fortunate. I'm lucky that I've got a garden and I've got a husband and a lovely daughter and a cute dog. I've got things to sort of keep me smiling. But it's a very strange thing we're living through.
Yeah, indeed. I completely agree. How have you found it in regards to performing? A lot of people have jumped onto online and doing streaming, but obviously I was warned before doing this interview that you are a complete technophobe. And as you said, your daughter does a majority of it. How have you found that? Have you ever thought, oh, maybe I should learn, maybe I should go on and do it?
Oh, I should have learned to read music and I've never done that. I'm a bit hopeless, really. And I think that you do fall into two camps when this whole thing happened. And I admire and completely get why anybody wants to sort of just perform in whatever capacity they can and give people things to just keep them going. So it's not a case of not agreeing with that. I totally agree with, but for me, I couldn't think of anything worse that I wanted to do. Even doing things like this is, I'm glad I'm doing it, but it's quite a big thing for me to do because I don't do these things very often. And I think you do fall into one or two camps. And me sort of, singing in the kitchen is, really for my own benefit and no one else's. I'm much better from a distance when there's lights in a theatre. So yeah, that's kind of how I fall with all that.
Yeah, brilliant. There you go, Natalie. Ryan Williams, how long did you play the narrator with Jason and Philip for? Love from Ryan. He's also a massive fan of yours, by the way, and listens to your CDs all the time. See, a lot of love for you, Lindsay.
Oh, thank you. I did it for its entirety at the Palladium, which I think was about 2 years. I can't remember exactly. Maybe a little bit more than 2 years. The interesting thing is that the contract was for 6 months. We were told initially that it was a 6-month contract. And then it just went absolutely crazy. It was just so, it was such a smash hit that it just kept going and going. And then it was like, we need to recast. And, but I was only 20 when I got the job. I mean, I've been quite fortunate that I'd had a few, incredible jobs before that. So I had, learned a few things, learned my skill a bit in musical theatre, but, I was still learning. I'm still learning, but I was still learning at 20. And to get the part of the narrator with that kind of vocal challenge and, the time just went so quickly because it was just a constant roller coaster of doing the show, doing the album, doing TV things. It was just a massive moment in time, and I was really loving every minute of it.
I bet it sounds amazing just hearing it. It's phenomenal. There you go, Ryan. Quick one that's just come up on the screen right now from Eleanor. Any advice on confidence whilst performing?
God. It's quite hard asking me that one because I've struggled with nerves and confidence a lot actually through my life. Less when I was younger. I think maybe that's just an age thing as well. I think that when you're younger, you do tend to be braver and just a little bit. You've got thicker skin, so you bounce back if things aren't so great. But the older you get, every time you mess up. I'm always one of those that gives myself a hard time. So, but I think you have to, if it's something that you love and it's in your heart and it's something that you have to do, then I always found that I was never very confident off stage. But the second I stood on the stage, it was as though that was the moment where I could go, okay, now I'm in control. And the rest of the time, I'm sort of a little bit all over the shop. And so in terms of confidence, I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I think, don't ever do this for a profession if you're in any doubt, because I think it's such a tough industry to be in. And you're in a very vulnerable position. The second you stand on a stage, you really are, anything could happen. And, you're very exposed. So I think don't do it unless you really believe that it's what you want to do.
Yeah, there you go, Eleanor. On to Sean now. Lindsay, you were a fantastic narrator in the show, the definitive one in my books, he says. What was the most challenging aspect?
He's obviously at a certain age then, isn't he?
Age doesn't matter tonight. We're all the same age. We're all 21 tonight, Lindsay.
Okay.
What was the most challenging aspect of playing the narrator, aside from being on stage for most of the show?
Sustaining the vocals, really. I mean, I would imagine anybody that's played the narrator will all sort of say, it's one hell of a sing. And funnily enough, I was talking to my daughter about it earlier. It was quite funny because I was going, I wonder what they're going to ask me about Joseph. It's so long ago. And Meg, my daughter, was going, I'll ask you questions and let's see and see what you remember. And one of those it came up, didn't it? You were sort of saying, you know, what was the hardest thing about it? And it would be sort of sustaining the vocal, you know, through the whole show, which actually, you know, when we first started was great because I think we were just so full of the adrenaline of the success. And then you know, you get to a certain point about 5 months in and suddenly you hit a wall and you're like, I can't keep this up. I just can't keep it. And then, you know, you sort of have to sort of take yourself back for a second and then off you go again. And actually, by the time I got into the second contract, I just got really strong. I just somehow, again, I was young. I hadn't got any other commitments. I looked after myself. I didn't go out and do the sort of normal things that 20, 21-year-olds would be doing. I was a very good girl and went home and just looked after myself. But it was worth it because, you know, I wanted to be there every night. I was just having a ball on stage.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, the praise that's coming through, Sean also adds as well. The 1991 London cast recording was a hugely successful and award-winning album that continues to be a fantastic Joseph soundtrack. What was the recording process like for it, Lindsay? And you sounded absolutely amazing on it.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, it was wonderful to be involved in that because it was a new experience for me. I'd never been, maybe I've been in a recording studio. To be fair, I had recorded something for Les Mis, but other than that, it was like first time I'd ever been part of an album. And of course, I'm on it all the way through. So, you know, I was in the studio a lot, and we'd do the show, you know, sort of rehearse and record in the daytime, and then do the show in the evening. So there was a lot. It was a very intense time while we were trying to sort of achieve both. But it was, you know, it was great to do. I mean, I have to be honest. It's funny because I've got a gold and a platinum disc, which I'm really chuffed with. I'm very proud of that.
Whereabouts in the house are they, Lindsay?
Well,
are we like mantelpiece or downstairs toilet level?
Downstairs loo.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's where they belong, isn't it?
They've got to be in the downstairs loo, yeah.
You don't want to make it too obvious. Yeah.
But yeah, downstairs loo. But I have to say, as much as, you know, I know it's a fun album. When I first heard it, I was really disappointed with it. And I think it's because, you know, the cast was so vocally strong, not just myself, but the whole ensemble were so amazing. And when you heard them live, it was just like, you know, they knocked it out of the park. And I felt as if they condensed the album to sound like a pop album. So all our voices are all quite sort of tinny and a bit poppy, and that's fine. And actually, you know, if you listen to it now and you stick it on in the car, it's great fun, and I get it. And I think they had to do it like that because Jason was a pop star, and obviously at the time, you know, he had such a massive following that they wanted the album to be part of his kind of vibe. Yeah. But, you know, I didn't feel as if it actually, you know, gave a true reflection of how we sounded live in the theatre. But, you know, I'm still glad we've got it, and it's, you know, it's good for the car.
Exactly, and you've got the discs and you're downstairs loo, so what more do you need?
Yeah.
Can't buy them at IKEA, can you? Right, Josh Large now. What was it like to perform in Blood Brothers and playing such an incredible, challenging role?
It was brilliant. I mean, you know, again, it was a part that I mean, you know, it's a brilliant show. A part that I always sort of hoped I would be able to do at some point. And the timing was right. I got to the right age at the right time, and it all just happened. The touring is really tough. The schedule is cruel. It's cruel, you know, because you'd sort of almost do in lots of venues, you wouldn't start until the Tuesday, and then you do two show, and doing something like Mrs. Johnson in Blood Brothers with that emotional commitment it's exhausting. I mean, not just exhausting, but it's emotionally, you know, very draining, but incredibly satisfying at the same time, you know, because it is, again, an iconic piece and a gift of a part. I mean, I would, I would do it again because it's, I haven't exhausted that one yet. I feel as if I've still got a lot to learn.
I'm sure many people would like to see you reprise that role and go back to it. I think you'd sell a few tickets just off people watching tonight. Ian Henderson, hey Lindsay, I've seen you so many times in Joseph, Blood Brothers and Pantos over the years and hope to see you back on that stage very, very soon. Have you been keeping active and busy during lockdown? What have you done to keep yourself occupied and active? That's from Love Ian.
A lot of gin and tonic.
Yes, it works. It makes the days go quicker.
I mean, when it was the summer last year and it was beautiful, I mean, it was just like, oh, this is all right, isn't it? Just keep sitting there drinking. But the novelty did wear off when you get to a point where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. So actually, to be fair, I started writing my memoirs about Carrie because for those that don't know, Carrie was my first job and I was 17 and I went to Broadway, but it wasn't quite as fabulous as it sounds because it then became a very unsuccessful show and I had to come back with my tail between my legs. So it was quite a traumatic experience. Brilliant, but traumatic for your first job. And there's quite a tale to tell. And I just thought, like everybody else, when you're stuck with nothing to do and you could go slightly insane, I thought, well, what could I do? And it had been mentioned before that I should, write it down. And I thought, well, before I've completely lost my mind and don't remember anything, maybe I should do it. So that's what I have been doing.
So has it been memoirs, then gin and tonic, or gin and tonic, then memoirs? They both make a difference.
Well, it does, actually. I feel like once I've had a gin and tonic, I write a bit better.
Yeah. A bit, like, not as neat, but...
Not as neat, no. It sounds a bit more interesting, I think. But
and you'll probably spill more. I mean, gossip, not the gin and tonic.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
there you go, Ian.
More,
we look forward to those memoirs. I can't wait to see them. I'll read them. Kelly Mundell, do you have any holidays planned? And where is your favourite holiday destination in the world if you had to choose one?
Wow. No, I don't have any holidays planned because we haven't
Nobody knows, do they?
Can't afford to. But to be honest, I feel as if, I mean, I'm ready to work again. I'm not ready to holiday. I'm sort of the other side of that. In terms of holidays, I'm actually, I'm more of a kind of Lake District girl than I am a sort of going abroad. I like going to the Lake District. So that's kind of, if I've got a week and I need to just, get away from it all, that's where I would go.
There we go. Samantha in the city now. What is your favourite song to perform in Joseph and your least favourite if you had to choose? Love from Sam.
Hi, Sam. I think my favourite to do in Joseph was Potiphar. I used to love doing that bit because it was the only bit that I felt in the show that I was playing a character rather than being myself telling the story. I kind of became part of the action, and I loved that. So that was my favourite bit. My most least favourite bit was probably I don't know. I mean, it was just all great. I don't really have a least favourite bit. I mean, there were bits that I used to sort of think, oh, here we go. This is the hard bit to sing.
Yeah.
Chained and bound, afraid, alone. That was the one that I never had any problem with letting out a mighty roar. It's obviously something to do with the sound when you sing is much easier than the chained. So I found that chained and bound was always the hard one to sing for me.
We'll go with those then. It's a very, very diplomatic answer. Andrea, what positives will you take away from lockdown? Any faux pas happening on stage? Do you still get nervous? And dream role? I've asked 4 questions there, all in one. So we'll go through it one by one. What positives will you take away from lockdown?
I think the positives are that I can appreciate the simpler things in life and just and I suppose in a way, I think when you get to a certain point in your life and career, you do question whether it's still what you want to do. Being in theatre and musical theatre is not, even though I've been very fortunate, it's not an easy, it's not easy sort of always being in and out of work. It's not a stable life. And I think the older you get, the harder that becomes. I think that when you're younger, you sort of, you don't have the commitments, and you whatever it is, there's a point where you want to feel a little bit more, stable and supported, and that's very difficult in the industry where you just never know where the next job's coming from. So I don't know where I'm going with this. I've gone off on a tangent, haven't I? Performing. But I do.
Thanks, Meg.
But I realise, and there I am now. Thanks, Meg. I realise now that I do love performing, and I miss it. I do miss it, and I got to the point where I wasn't sure whether I still loved it enough to do it, and I think I still do.
There we go. So that's question one. Question two: any faux pas happening on stage? Anything you can tell us that happened? Any things that went wrong for you personally? Any slips, trips? Besides the Philip Schofiled eyelid things.
Yeah. Oh God, there's always things. There's a funny story about when I was in Les Mis when I was only 18. When I first did Les Mis, I played the part of Eponine. I actually did go back and do Madame Thénardier years later, but when I was doing Eponine, I used to have this little ritual every night where after I'd died on the barricades and I've got all the blood all over me, I would come off stage and I had to I'd take my microphone off and go and have a shower and then put my microphone back on. And anyway, it was one Christmas and there were lots of the cast were ill and off. So the microphone that I'd taken off that would then normally get passed to one of the ensemble members, they said, hang on to it. So I kept hold of the thing, had my shower, put my microphone back on, and then I always gave my mum a call. And I've got quite a thick Brummie accent still at the time. And it was in the bit in the show where everyone had just died on the barricades. So da, 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 and they're all hanging from the barricades. And I put my microphone back on, and all you heard was me go, hello, Mum, will you call me back? All over Les Mis. And everybody knew who it was. I wasn't actually on stage, but it was certainly, I was over the sound system, which was quite funny.
I think that definitely, we can clarify that's definitely a faux pas. We'll give you that. Do you still get nervous as we carry on through Andrea's question? Yeah, more than ever. Awful. I mean, I think it's quite cruel, actually. I think it should be the other way around. I think, you should sort of, with experience, you should care less and just think, sod it. But it's the opposite for me. Do you have any techniques? Like obviously singers go through the whole drink honey, la da 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 da. When it comes to nerves, do you have anything? Picture everyone in their underwear or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't. I just sort of get nervous and then stand on the stage, and somehow that just then that disappears. But until I get on there, I'm a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
You just want to get it over with and get on the phone to your mum.
Awful. I can't. Yeah, I have trouble having conversations with people at times. I'm just very nervous.
Well, we're going well tonight so far. We've not cut off or anything, so all is good, Lindsay. And finally, the last question of Andrea's, your dream role. It might have been something you've already played or something you'd like to play. Yeah, we kind of touched on this before, but I don't really feel as if is there anything that I'm asking my daughter about that dream role? I wouldn't have, I'd quite like to have a crack at Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. That would be quite fun. Yeah.
But I always wanted to play Dot in Sunday in the Park with George, but that passed me by. So, I'd like to do maybe the witch in Into the Woods. That would be quite fun.
I think you'd suit them all.
I'm on a roll now. I'm just grabbing them.
Yeah.
What else can I do?
We couldn't get one, and now we've got loads. Brilliant.
Let's do a normal.
We'll go with those. Yeah. We've still got loads of questions to go, so let's just go with those for now. Yeah. On to Haley Bordiak's question. If there was a film made of your life story, who would you choose to play you and why? And she says, hope you're well, love from Haley.
Oh my God, I have no idea. I mean, no one would.
I bet Meg didn't answer these kind of questions tonight, did she?
I could have my daughter. I could have my daughter do it. She's like a taller version. There you go. I'll have my daughter do it.
Sorted. And she can come to you for, obviously, research and advice. There we go.
Oh, she knows me far too well.
So those gin and tonics, that's why.
Yeah.
Zoe Thornton, would you ever consider returning to the role of the narrator? I think we touched on this earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny one. You can't ever not consider anything because, like I say, we're in an industry where you don't have that many choices. So if it was presented, it wouldn't be like I would just go absolutely not. But I think it would have to be very different. I couldn't do the old 91 version, because I'm not that now. So it would have to be Linzi now doing it, which would be different,
Fantastic. Gillian Galbraith, I've watched all these interviews with the cast of Joseph and I love them. Thanks for doing it, Lindsay. The big question is, can you remember all the colours of the coat in order? Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know them, so I'm going to have to wait for somebody on Instagram at the bottom to go, yeah, it's right.
It was
so
red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and ochre and peach and ruby and olive and violet and thorn and lilac and gold and chocolate and mauve and cream and crimson and silver and gold and azure and lemon and russet and grey and purple and white and pink and orange and blue.
I think that's right, but I'm going to wait see if everyone just pops below says it's wrong. I'm going to say, yeah, well done. Perfect. You've got it the wrong way around. Yeah. No, thank you very much for trying. We'll find out soon. We'll find out soon. Natalie Cross, the first one to go. Well done, Samantha. Yeah, well, you've got it right. Well done, Lindsay. There you go.
Okay.
After 30 odd years, you still know it.
There you go.
It sticks with you.
Never sang it since.
Alison Moore, what's your favourite musical or show to go and watch? And what was the first ever musical you saw as a child? Thank you from Alison. Most recently, I loved Come From Away. I thought that was brilliant. It is a brilliant one, though. Yeah,
brilliant. Just very unique, very different. And yeah, I loved Come From Away. So I'll go with that. And Annie at the Victoria Palace when it was on in London in the 80s, early 80s, and I went for my 9th birthday present. And it was that was it. I was obsessed with Annie, and was that what gave you the desire to then go, right, this is what I want to do as a career? That was definitely the nail in the coffin. I mean, I didn't come from a theatrical background at all. No one in my family sings or anything, but they always had great music in my house. My mum and dad have always just got good albums, and they were just always cool and a bit with it. And I remember sort of they had the David Essex's version of Godspell and listening to that when I was about five or six, right. And thinking, oh, what's this? Like this? This is I like this thing. And it just sort of, and I just sort of always sang and danced and, sort of right from a tot. So, yeah, I think I did sort of get the album of Annie as well. And that was when I sort of said I want to go and see Annie for my birthday. And yeah, just went from there, really.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
Jean Donnelly, where is your favourite place to go in the UK? I think we've hit on this with the lakes.
Yeah.
I've maybe not been before once it's locked down. I want to book a week away somewhere. So obviously, anywhere you recommend the Lake District.
It depends. It's if you like fresh air and lots of walking and countryside, and I just always found, I think probably particularly when I was working in London, it was always just one of those. I just felt like I could just remove myself from everything. It just felt very, very peaceful for me.
Yeah. There you go, Jean. Margaret Carrins now. You've appeared in many musicals and shows and your career has been incredible. What's the one moment you always look back and think, wow, I'll never forget that?
There's been a few. I think the actually, funny enough, I would say the first preview of Joseph will always sort of stick in my mind, because you know, we'd kind of done all the rehearsals for it, and you know, when you sort of, it's Joseph, so it's going to be great anyway, because you know, the songs are great and people love it. But it felt like it felt on a different scale, this particular production. And then having Jason involved, which sort of brought in this whole different element. And then, you know, I remember we were in rehearsals and Andrew Lloyd Webber came in waving a tape, because we had tapes in those days. And he stuck this tape in the machine and played this sort of pop beat. And he said, this is going to be our mega mix at the end. And we all looked at each other and thought, he's gone completely insane. You know, and we just thought, there is no way we're going to be laughed off the stage. I mean, it's just, this is just ridiculous. And we got to the, you know, it got to the first preview. The show had gone fantastic. The audience response was amazing. We thought, well, this is incredible, but we're waiting for the mega mix. This is where it's all going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
The mega mix kicked in, and I've still got shivers thinking about it. Never been in a theatre with this kind of response. That it was like everyone just erupted from their seats, and it was like they blew the roof off the Palladium. You know, it was just, and you know, I think that was the start of the mega mix. You know, from that point on, people use it a lot in shows as a way for people to go out the theatre on a real high. But we were the first that did it, and it was just, I mean, we all stood there with our mouths open, you know, just like, oh my God, it was unbelievable. So that's definitely one I, you know,
get a feeling of what it was like. Obviously, he's come in like an evil genius, and you know, and gone, this is going to work, and you're, I'm not too sure. And then before it happened, was it like a feeling in your stomach? You go, this is all going to go terribly wrong.
Completely. You know, everyone doing the show twice the speed for 5 minutes, you know, dancing around like lunatics, and you know, there's no way it's just going to go. It's all going to go horribly wrong. And how wrong were we? You know, it was unbelievable response.
There we go for Margaret. Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say.
Go on then. No, you go for it. If you want to talk, Lindsay.
I was lucky enough to work with an actress called Betty Buckley in New York, on Broadway in Carrie, and she's a Tony Award-winning. You know, she's incredible, and she played my mother. And she invited me back to do some songs with her at Carnegie Hall, and that was amazing as well. That was just like, that was a real high for me.
So are they the ones that you look back on now and you go, that's why I did it? Those are the moments why I decided to take
definitely they're definitely not the reasons why I did it. I mean, I've only ever done this because, without it sounding naff, I just think I was born to do it. You know, there's nothing else that I'm particularly good at, and I was lucky to be born with a gift to be able to sing. You know, but all my dream was from, you know, a young kid was to be in a musical. You know, I didn't have any kind of, I want to be this or I want to be that. I still don't, you know, like I say, I'm still grateful if another job comes my way. You know, I just, you know, I'd never take it for granted. And, you know, I'm fortunate that I've made a career out of it. But those are just a few, you know, extra special moments that you kind of go, I mean, I've got, there's a lot of really special moments, but there's just off the top of my head, you know, those two, just because of the audience response to them.
Yeah, great choices. There you go, Margaret. Joseph Cunningham now. Can we buy your CDs online? And I just wanted to say, I think you're amazing, and I hope you're keeping safe and well. Love from the Cunningham family in Coventry.
Thank you. Well, yes, I think that the albums have actually just been re-released, so you can kind of get them on Spotify and iTunes and things like that. I'm looking at my daughter going, oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it would be a question for Meg. Yeah.
She's like my agent. She's like my manager here. Where can you get them? So yes, they are now out online. Out again.
Yeah. Brilliant. There you go, Joseph. Samantha Payne now. Were Jason and Philip both fun to work with? Who got up to the most shenanigans backstage?
Well, definitely Philip for shenanigans. You know, he was, you know, you've only got to see him on This Morning with Holly to see that he's a real giggler, and
Yeah.
and he was an absolute, he was quite naughty. He was good fun. We had a good old laugh. And I think, to be honest with you, when Philip came along, I could have more of a laugh because I was more confident in what I was doing. I knew my show, I knew how to pace it, I knew, how to get across what I needed to. So I could relax a bit, in as much as I could have more time for other people, and not so, it's very hard when you first, open in a show. If you're the originator of something. I've done both, I've originated shows and I've taken over on shows. And I have to say, in some respects, I've enjoyed the takeovers more than I have when I've originated, because the pressure on that first company is enormous, and everyone, if something goes wrong, there's always someone that they want to blame for it, rather than. So in some ways, but Jace, I love Jace. We still stay in touch, and I'm very proud of us being the original team at the Palladium. That's very close to my heart. So I enjoyed working with them both for different reasons. But Philip was naughtier. Jason, I've got a soft spot for.
I mean, they're both, legends in their own right, obviously. Jason's gone on to star in many things since. Obviously, Philip reprising his Joseph on Ant and Dec a few years back. And, of course, This Morning as well. Would you say that the character of Philip that we see now, Scof, as we know, is he pretty much what he was like in the 90s? Is he exactly the same? Because a lot of people, his hair might have changed, but he's still the same person.
Well, I don't think his hair has changed, actually, because I think he went grey when he was about something like 18 or 19. Because when we were doing Joseph, he used to dye it. And then there was one time when I don't know if he went on tour, but I know he sort of said, I just got so fed up because I was wearing a wig. I just thought, I'll just use that time. I'm not on the telly. I won't dye my hair anymore. And then people were sort of going, what's going on with Schofield's hair? And it looked a bit strange at the time because he looked so much younger, but he's been grey since a very young age. So no, I mean, I think he's very natural on the television, so that's why he's so successful at live TV. And I think that's why he sort of transitioned over to theatre with a lot more ease than people thought that he would, because actually he's good live and he's good at thinking on his feet, and he's funny, and Joseph is funny. The show is a funny show, and I think that the humour that's in there, is he could do easily. Yeah.
Well, there we go. A revelation. Philip Schofield's always been a silver fox. He just died it to begin with.
I hate to say it, but and I think he'd say it himself. Yeah, I think it's I think he's said it before. Yeah, he was definitely grey from a young age.
On to Simone Black now. After lockdown is all finally over, and hopefully soon, what's the first thing you will do with your family and friends? And she's sending you all her love from them in sunny Edinburgh.
Well, I mean, the hope is that when we're allowed 6 in a garden, I think it is, I'm hoping to be able to go to my mum and dad and just go and see them and just be in the garden and have a drink. And I mean, thank God for Zoom and FaceTime and all the rest of it, but it's the longest I've been without actually seeing my mum and dad, and I miss them. I miss them something chronic. So that would be the first thing, definitely.
Yeah. Just going to bring up this question because it's just come up on screen. It's a really good question. This is from Drama Queen AM. Lindsay, how do you feel that every narrator gets compared to you? You set the bar very high.
Well, I didn't know that they did, but that's very flattering. I guess, again, it's probably because I was part of that production at the time and the album, and so that's lovely. But I think that the great thing about the narrator is that really you can do it any which way. Whoever's cast in it are cast for who they are. And I don't think it should ever be that anyone tries to do a carbon copy of me, because I think it's absolutely, if you can vocally do it and you've got the personality to pull it off, then I think it's anybody's choice as to how they want to play it.
On to Richard Ainsley now. I worked as a singer on cruise ships and I've done some other shows around the UK. Have you ever worked on any cruise liners as a singer? If so, what's your favourite? And if not, where would you love to go on one?
I haven't. Not for no reason other than I've sort of been, I suppose, busy in the West End most of the time, or doing the odd tour around the country. So no, it hasn't really happened for me. But well, I think if I was going to do one, it would have to be somewhere sort of nice and hot and lovely, and only do maybe like one show a week and spend the rest of the time just sunning yourself. That would be nice.
I think that's a brilliant idea. But you might get the calls after this.
Bring them on.
We'll have it. Paul Scott from Box Office Radio. Out of all the people who were with you in Italia Conte, I hope I've said that wrong, right, are you the most well-known? And if not, who is?
Definitely not the most well-known. In my class alone, we had Naomi Campbell.
Wow.
So, big sort of supermodel of her day. Trying to think who else is there. I mean, to be fair, I was probably one of the few that, like a lot of theatre schools, unfortunately, like the industry, there are loads that just don't really make it. So, in my year, there probably was only, 2 or 3 that actually did end up, going into the profession. But I'm sure I'm not the most well-known.
The second most well-known after Naomi Campbell.
I'm probably the shortest.
Okay. If that was the question, who was the shortest one?
I'm probably the shortest person.
There you go, Paul. We completely changed your question, and there's your answer, my friend. Donna Maria Silva, what was your favourite song to sing when you were the narrator in Joseph? And how long in total did you do the show in London and on tour? See if you can add them up on your fingers.
I didn't tour with it, actually. I only did the West End. And then actually, years later, I don't know how many, but it was probably, I'm guessing about 5 or 6 years later, they did it in Singapore and Hong Kong. And they had half Australian, half New Zealand cast. And they asked me whether I would go over and do that there. So I did actually do it much later, but in this country. And Darren Day did it as well when we went out there. But I didn't tour with it in this country, and I think I did the time that it was at the Palladium, which I think was about 2 years.
Right.
And what was the other question? The
favourite song that you got to perform as narrator?
Well, like I said, I think it was probably Potiphar was the bit that I enjoyed doing the most. But I think on a good night, when I felt really sort of, on my game, top of Act 2 doing Pharaoh's Story was always a nice moment.
Yeah. There we go. Mike Bentley from Solihull Radio. I adore the music from Secret Garden. How did you get involved with the show? And do you have a specific memory that you could share with us from your time in that production? And by the way, you're my favourite narrator, hands down. Love you. That's from Mike Bentley.
Thank you. I love the Secret Garden as well. Some of my favourite music, and I'm on the album of that, and I have to say I prefer. I prefer my vocals on that to Joseph. But anyway, or at least I think it sounds more like how I sounded in the show at the time. Secret Garden is beautiful music, and we did it for the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford upon Avon, and then brought it into the West End. My biggest memory about that show is actually that it was the first show I did back after having my daughter. So that was quite, one, it felt like quite an achievement, but also I felt very different. I felt very different as a person. And to be able to sort of, manage to be a mum and perform was, one of those, can you do it? Is it possible? And so I felt, it felt like quite an achievement. So I have quite a fondness for Secret Garden for that alone.
Yeah. Great answer. There you go, Mike. The next one's not really a question, it's more of a statement. Caroline Smith, Lindsay, I used to teach special needs kids. They loved the recording of Joseph You Did, and we still listen to it and learn every song from it in sign language. Her albums are fab. Have a great day, Lindsay. Love from Caroline. To hear stuff like that, you know, after an amazing career, it must be so heartwarming, just, you know, to know that you played a part in something.
Oh, absolutely. It's sort of a funny thing, really, because with Joseph, there are times when it makes me feel really old because, you know, people that are really so much younger are kind of going, oh, I remember when I was 2 and I was listening and thinking, oh my God, you know. But on the side of that is that, you know, there are so many people that have such a fondness for it, as do I. But, you know, funnily enough, I remember when we did one of our first signed performances on Joseph, and it was, I mean, I was so riveted by the guy that was doing it. I mean, he was phenomenal. And I think when theatre can, you know, connect in that way, I just think it's so amazing. The hardest thing is actually to perform because you want to just be watching them. They're just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, how they do it. And, you know, there were a couple of times when I sort of almost, because as a narrator I could, so I'd almost go up and do bits with him. And it was just brilliant. I mean, not easier, but more fun actually to have that on Joseph than on other shows where it's quite hard if you're doing like serious, you know, dramatic stuff and then you've got someone very close to you doing the signing, because it sometimes it can be a little bit distracting. But on Joseph it was just amazing.
And it opened it up to a whole new audience, and that legend has continued, as you say, now thanks to, you know, Caroline and that message, which is really sweet. So thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline, for getting in touch. Richard King from the Joseph UK Tour admin team on Facebook. Since Joseph, you've had many different roles in a variety of shows. Which role has been your favourite whilst touring, and which is your favourite theatre?
Favourite... my favourite role, I think, which it wasn't actually on tour, but my favourite role is Roxy Hart in Chicago.
Good role.
You know, I just felt like that was such a moment for me to show a completely different side to me that I hadn't had the opportunity to do before. You know, a lot of the stuff that I'd done, you know, was very much vocal and acting based, and to sort of be able to sort of, you know, call yourself a triple threat. I'm not going to be as big as, you know, but it was fantastic to sort of, you know, have the dance in there and just to play such a, you know, sort of foxy, cute, you know, sort of funny part. I just felt quite liberated. It was a real sort of a great moment. So I really enjoyed playing Roxy. And actually I ended up playing it 3 times. I sort of went back, you know, to the show quite a few times, which was always good when you wanted to get thin. I can imagine quite an intense part. It's just very physical, and it was just sort of like, right, I need to go on a diet. Right, let's go back do Roxy again then, because I'll lose the weight on that one. So yeah, that was definitely. But touring, I've only toured on 2 shows in my entire 33 years in the business. One was on Barnum, opposite Brian Connolly, playing Charity Barnum. And the other was Mrs. J in Blood Brothers, both of which are brilliant parts. So, you know, I'm, again, incredibly lucky. Do you prefer to be in a base, where it be the Palladium or etc. theatre, or do you like the touring more because you get to have to a bigger audience, you get to see different theatres, and a lot of people's like it's a tick. I get to travel the country. What I prefer is I prefer the audiences on tour to the West End. That's what I prefer. But I prefer living at home and working in London, because then I can be at home. So you can't really win. I would always, if I had a choice, I would not live out of a suitcase. I find it very transient, and it unsettles me. I'm better when I'm more secure. So I love to be able, if I get a job and it means I can be in London, I can be at home, great. Having said that, the audiences on tour are warmer, more generous. you feel as if you're actually meeting, really great people, and the appreciation is phenomenal. And I think that's because, in the West End, it's much more a tourist-based crowd. So, it's a very different agenda to people that are so thrilled that you've come to their town. So if I could take all the audiences from tour and bring them to the West End, that'd be the perfect scenario.
I think that would work really, really well. When you talk about touring and saying that you'd like, to be in London, is that something that's always been the same? Or when your life changed, after having your daughter and settling down, or when you were younger, would touring be more of a thing that you would have been willing to do, so to speak?
Well, I think when I was younger, I would have been willing to definitely, it wouldn't have mattered so much. But I think, when you get a bit older, you kind of want your home comforts. You don't sort of. It's just the way it is, really. So like I say, if I had a choice, I want to be in my home, really.
Yeah.
But I love the audiences on tour.
Yeah, they are good. There you go, Richard, and Jennifer had a similar question. So there you go, Jennifer. Miranda Palmer Payne. Hey, Lindsay, hope you're keeping well. Can I ask you what your hobbies and interests are apart from singing? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy and active during lockdown? We obviously spoke about that. And do you have anything lined up for once the theatres open back up? That's from Miranda.
No, to the last one. Nothing much on the horizon yet. I could create things, but I'm just not very good at that. I feel as though, I've done, quite a few sort of one-woman things in the past, but I'm longing to be with people. I find it quite sort of, I get a bit, I don't know, I get a bit fed up talking about myself, but doing this, aren't I? But, I get a bit fed up doing, sort of cabarets and things where it's all just about me. I actually love working with people, and I'm longing to be part of a team that, a little cog in a big production is where I'm at my, my happiest. So, I do hope that a show comes along, in the near future. And I can't remember what the other questions were.
It was obviously your hobbies and interests apart from singing.
Oh, hobbies and interests. My daughter took me like, no. I don't really have many. I mean, we've got a very cute cockapoo. so I love walking. I mean, I do lots of walking the dog. But you can't call that a hobby. That's just an enjoyment. So that's kind of, I mean, I have to say the little dog has kept me sane through this whole lockdown thing, because, the little face is just so cute that it does keep you going. So I'm glad I've got the dog and the daughter.
Course.
But I'm not I'm not a big hobby person. I don't normally have the time for hobbies. No, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. There you go, Miranda. We're admiring the honesty, Lindsay. It's all we want from you.
I've got to be honest.
I know, exactly.
I go to the gym every 5 minutes because I don't. I just don't.
I'm definitely sure we'll see you on a theatre stage before very, very soon, I'm sure. Moni Colville-Stewart, my daughter is studying performing arts. How long do you think it will take the industry to return to its former glory post-COVID? She has 2 years to complete, and it would be heartbreaking if all students studying for all aspects of the industry have wasted time and money. I appreciate not everyone makes it. However, they have worked so hard remotely.
Oh, he's back. There we go.
There we go. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. We just seemed to have vanished. You're going to make me read this long question all over again now.
Right.
It was my fault that broke it, not you. Don't worry. Right, back to the question again, and it's a long one. So here we go.
No. I get it, because
all right.
It was about the student who's got 2 more years left. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the industry will return to its former glory post-COVID?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I hope so. I think, I completely sympathise. My daughter was in her final year of drama college when, this pandemic kicked off, and she couldn't finish off her studies. And it's very hard for them, because for students that have just come out and they're coming out into an industry that's non-existent is absolutely heartbreaking. So, but I think, you know, 2 years on from now, things it'll be a different thing altogether. So I would say, try not to worry now, because goodness me, it's going to be good. It's got to be good. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it has to be. Stick at it. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Apologies for the technical difficulties there, guys. We are back for how long? We don't know. Jill has got in touch. Hi, Lindsay. Myself and my son are huge fans of Joseph. My son would watch it every day if he could. I've seen the show many times. How many times would you guess you performed in the show? Lots of love. No pressure, but to the nearest
I can't,
10,
you know,
100.
There's a reason why I sing, is because I can't do maths. So, I mean, you know, two years of 8 shows a week with probably, I don't know, about 3 weeks off here and there. What's that?
I was going to add it. We're talking over 1,000 shows, easy, aren't we?
Yeah, I would think
easy.
so. Yeah.
There you go, Jill. That's the best we can do for you, my love. Sue Stevens from the Supreme team. Hi, Lindsay. I'm doing a charity bicycle ride for charity for Birmingham Children's Hospital in September. From London to Brussels. Just wanted to let you know I'll be listening to your songs in my earphones along the way. Sending you all my love from Sue Stevens at Supreme team. And like the earlier when we asked about it, thing, you know, it must be so, I guess, rewarding to know that you go on there and do something that you love to do. And years on, people are still taking, you know, inspiration and looking up to you and listening to you, you know, amazing talent many, many years on.
Honestly, I get chills. It's so lovely to hear. Thank you. You know, it's very nice. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and we wish you the best of luck, Sue.
Yeah.
If you wanted to send us some details, I'm sure we'll share it on the Joseph page for you. Well, you'll be happy to know, Lindsay, that is it. We're done. That's all the questions done. It's only taken us an hour and one technical difficulty. But I just want to say it's been an absolute privilege speaking to you. Thank you so much for chatting to us tonight. Thank you to your daughter, Meg, as well, who's been your technical advisor, manager, and
she's just my world. I'd be
genius.
hopeless without her. I really would. But can I just say thank you to you, and also thank you to everybody for asking me lovely questions and for, you know, supporting me over the years, and I appreciate it very much. So everyone stay safe, and let's hope that this craziness is over soon.
Yes, and we will see Lindsay on a stage very, very soon, I'm sure. Just to mention, if you missed the beginning of this, it will be available to watch in full after the interview on our very own Instagram page. And while you're there, Lindsay, just a quick reminder, we are doing this for charity. It's acting for others. And if you do want to donate after watching this, or just anything that you can give, you know, there's a lot of people in the industry, like we spoke about, that have gone, a year now, practically, since lockdown. Justgiving.com/fundraising/Joseph Dream Concert. Lindsay, thank you so much again. Lovely to speak to you. All the best. Stay safe. And thank you again for answering all these questions.
Thank you. Mwah. Big love to everybody.
No worries.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Take care. And for me, Adam Smith, stick around in the future weeks. Maybe we might have some more questions and answer sessions coming up. Maybe with some people that have starred with Lindsay on that Palladium stage. Details to come very soon. For me and Lindsay, take care. Good night and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.